Hey, it just depends on what gets picked up. And I'm not here
Yeah,
for engagement. I'm here to educate.
but also, well, we thank you a lot. I thank you a lot because, well, now, as you can see, we have over 16 people that wants to learn more about computer science, and I believe that, well, for now, I don't know. I bet that more will come, but for now, I believe that those people perhaps may not like end up studying computer science, but they will definitely live today learning something, and they will eventually
So, so.
apply it in the future. And I believe that that is a great objective as well as a part of education. So we thank you a lot, Self.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right,
Yeah.
it is 10 a.m. We have a good amount of audience. Thank you so much, guys, for coming, and welcome to our computer science panel. And well, please allow me to introduce our amazing speaker with whom we just have a great chat as well. So, Sel is a cybersecurity professional who studies computer science part-time around the world. But they also run the Army ComSci Twitter account as a project dedicated to security awareness education. So thank you so much for coming. And well, they are all yours.
Hi. So I did think this was going to be a talk, not a panel. So I prepared a talk. So I am just going to make that full screen and then I'm going to do weird shenanigans because I have not got things set up to be multi-screen yet. And this is doing subtitles at the moment, which is interesting. So that should share. Yeah. There we go. And we have subtitles too. Nice. So, hi, welcome to Army Road to College Computer Science. Um, so let's start with, I know we had that very brief introduction that I wrote for Andy. And I wrote it very briefly because I had this slide. So, who am I? I would probably call myself Army's unofficial security advocate. And what that means is I kind of exist to provide security awareness education within Army. Um, I also exist kind of Army's tech support quite a lot of the time. A lot of my DMs are kind of, my computer's broken, can you fix it? um, One of my coworkers a few months ago called me a malware gremlin, and it stuck. If you're not sure what malware is, it's the proper name for a computer virus. I have a 4-year career in tech. I've spent 2 years in help desk, 1 year as a software engineer, and I've just completed my first year as a SOC analyst. That is a security operations center for anyone who doesn't know what a SOC is. And we don't know what's going to go on from the future. I had a bit of an unusual journey. Before I worked in help desk, I was training as a chef. And at some point in that 4-year career, I also spent a little bit of time selling fried chicken. So let's talk about studying computer science a little bit. So I know that I answered this question in the chat as well. But first point, there will usually be a bit of studying for maths involved with studying computer science. A lot of this is because computer science involves a lot of kind of interest in algorithms, and algorithms tend to be based a lot around maths. Rather than necessarily being straight coding, it's more along the lines of problem solving, thinking about how a computer works rather than making the computer work. And you can substitute computers for code or any other computing discipline, so networking or So making a network work, or how a network works, rather than making a network work. Say work 5 times fast. It's a very broad subject unless you choose to specialize, such as specializing in artificial intelligence, robotics, networking, programming and coding, security. And there are many avenues that you can go down with computer science. It's a very, very fascinating thing, and I do really enjoy and really do encourage taking a broad option to start with if you do choose computer science. Because I feel like having that broad option and trying a little bit of everything and narrowing down as you try things is always a better option than narrowing to start with and then finding that that thing you narrowed through isn't what you want to do. But another important question is college or university the only path for a career in tech and security? And really, the answer to that is no. So there's a lot of options available online for ways to learn tech and security without having to go to university, because it's worth bearing in mind that university is a very rigid, structured way of learning that doesn't suit everybody. I'm saying university a lot instead of college because to me as a Brit, college is a different level of education to what university is as a degree. So a lot of these things will be skewed more towards security now because that is my specialty and those are the resources that I know off the top of my head. I did try to find some options that aren't just security, but for the most part, they are largely skewed towards security, and I'm really sorry about that. So, for example, if you prefer to learn by doing things, there's Blue Team Labs online if you want to learn about how to defend networks or want to learn about how to break apart phishing emails or break apart malware, the things I like to do. If you want to learn how to code, there's Codecademy to learn the basics of so many languages. It's a very useful website. There's Hack the Box and Try Hack Me if you want to learn about how to make use of breaking into systems as well. But I believe Try Hack Me also has some of the things that Blue Team Labs Online offers as well, in a balance of what we call red team and blue team, attack and defense. But I see Try Hack Me as largely red team rather than blue team. And if you learn by watching, there's Udemy, which offers tens of thousands of courses on almost any subject under the sun, including security and tech and under any guise. Some of these courses you do have to pay for, and some of them are offered for free. Some of them you can get for free almost anytime with a code. Often if I find out about codes that are available or courses that are available for free, I tweet about them on Army CompSci. If you're specifically interested in security but can't afford courses on Udemy as well, there's also Cybrary, which is a very similar project. But their entire library of courses is, as far as I'm aware, free. When I was using it, it was free. And you could get certificates, but you could pay for the certificates if you wanted them. My throat's going weird. I did not say, hey, what's going on? I love algorithms. And for those who learn by reading, one thing I will always recommend is Humble Bundle. The reason I will always recommend Humble Bundle is while you do have to pay, you can name your price and get a number of books available depending on the price you name. You also donate to charity with the price that you name. And with that, you can either donate to the charity that they suggest or you can choose a charity. from lists of tens of thousands, I often donate to one that is researching a genetic disease in my family when I buy from Humble Bundle. And the book bundles they have available can be anything from 15 to 25 to 30 books for about $15, I think, is the top tier typically. And I took those 3 screen grabs on Monday night. So all 3 of those are still available, with the AI and machine learning toolkit being the one that's expiring soon, if anyone is interested in any of those. So it is something that I really do recommend. I have so many books from Humble Bundle. And there's a lot of career paths available from computer science as well. I'm a little biased. Of course, I'd say cybersecurity, but there's also things like network engineering. The common answer and the common assumption is things like software and app development. There's database administration or data analysis. If you're very good at talking to people, you could look at IT sales. If you're very interested in things like neural networks and psychology, you could look at robotics and AI. And one that could be a bit of a left field argument, something a bit out there, is law. And the reason I say it's a bit out there is because not many people consider this as an option with a computer science degree, and you probably would need to figure out a way to argue for a dual major. However, I know at the very least in the UK, there is a desperate need for lawyers who understand the technical aspects of the cases that they're seeing, especially when it comes to things like hacking, malware, and things like that. Very recently, there was a very high-profile case, well, several very high-profile cases in the UK and the US involving malware and involving hacking. And what the 2 cases that immediately come to mind when I'm thinking about this, and this bit is coming completely off the top of my head, is those of Laurie Love and Marcus Hutchins. Now, for those who have followed me for a while, you might remember the name Marcus Hutchins from my WannaCry thread, but as the guy who stopped WannaCry. Yeah, Marcus Hutchins is the guy who stopped WannaCry. However, many years before that, he did have a history of writing malware and selling that malware. And unfortunately, he got caught because of the whole high-profile nature of stopping WannaCry. And Laurie Love hacked the CIA. And the US wanted to extradite him from the UK because of that. That's the whole story with that one. The UK said no. Laurie's a very chill guy. That's all I'm going to say on that. Working on security. So this bit, taking a bit of a pivot. Working in security, it's very difficult to narrow down what to do with working in security specifically, because it's such a diverse industry in its own right. There's a range of specialty, and it's very hard to narrow down skills needed for any given specialty within security, especially because it's a relatively young industry. It's only about 20 to 30 years old as an industry itself. Which, when you compare it to things like accounting or law or medicine, which are decades, if not centuries older, security is a baby. It's a toddler. It's not there yet. It's still figuring itself out. Very much so. It's still learning how to be taken seriously. And as such, it doesn't really have any major pathways into it. And this is a discussion that's being had in security constantly. In It's only in the last 5 years or so that people have started actually turning around and saying, at my age, at our age, at the kind of age where you're looking at degrees and saying, I want to work in security, and that being a conscious career choice right out the gate. Most people were just falling into security by accident. So a friend of mine called Mark Carney created something called he wrote an article called "We Need to Kill the Security Analyst," which please don't. That's my job title. But what he meant was that in security, so many jobs are listed as security analyst, and it's a very vague job title, and it can mean anything, and you really have to read the job description to find out what role they mean. So he created a skills matrix to help both recruiters and people who are looking to break into the industry to figure out what they wanted exactly. Either what they wanted to learn or what role they wanted. So I took a look at the skills matrix he built and took a look specifically at SOC monitoring analyst, what I am now. So what skills are required to be a SOC monitoring analyst? Well, there's summary technical knowledge up to basic scripting, security to business integration, so how security works with a business, networking basics, web app basics, SIEM knowledge, and intrusion detection principles. Now, I kind of sat back after writing this slide and assessed what I knew from this set of things. I have summary technical knowledge up to basic scripting. I can tell you what a computer is, I think. I have a capability of being able to figure out how security works with the business. I understand how computers talk to each other, and I understand how applications within websites work. I kind of understand how SIEMs work. I can't tell you what the acronym means. And I kind of understand what intrusion detection principles are. Intrusion detection kind of is raw logs come in, the intrusion detection system looks at them, has a rule set that it thinks about, and then if the logs kind of match the rule, it goes through, and then it fires an alert and it says, hey, this don't look right. So, what would be nice to know? So there's reporting skills, so things like writing an essay or a report that would go to a C-suite executive or to someone who may need to know about that information, who may not be technical. Network protocol fundamentals, so the specifics of how the computer is talking to another computer and how that talking is happening. Web protocol basics, so how websites talk to each other. Infrastructure basics, so how a business builds itself. Tool development, so writing things that can be used. OSINT, so this acronym stands for Open Source Intelligence, and this is using the internet and using things like social media to find out information about people or businesses. Basic something, and the subtitles are in the way. I'm gonna just have to do that. Ah! Whoa, where's my mouse? I have lost my mouse. Where's my mouse? There we go. Basic dynamic binary analysis. There we go. Next, go away. I should have checked this beforehand. Why subtitles? There we go. Okay. I'm current slide. There we go. Basic dynamic binary analysis. There we go. Basic static binary analysis. So dynamic binary analysis would be kind of looking at a piece of software running while it's running and looking at the code and what it's doing. Static analysis is kind of just reading the code. Scene configuration and management. Can't explain that one. Advanced network protocol analysis. Data science and advanced data analysis techniques. Can't explain that one either. Machine learning. And advanced intrusion detection techniques. And we now have a blank slide because I messed up. So again, I went through and I kind of thought about what do I know, what don't I know. And as we are progressing from what's required in my role, what's nice to know in my role, we're starting to go from mostly green to a smattering of green and yellow and red. There's things I can learn to improve in my role. That's always nice. And there's also, what would I know in an ideal world? Like,
Hi, sorry.
if I
your
was...
screen isn't shared. It has stopped sharing.
Oh, did it? That's probably because I had to end this PowerPoint to see things. There we go. Let's go back. Okay. So that was the nice colorfulness that I was trying to talk about. Thanks for pointing that out. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it. Thanks.
Cool. Yeah, so that's what I meant when I was saying that, like, as we're progressing from what's required to know in my role to what's nice to know in my role, we're starting to see it go from, like, mostly green with a smidge of yellow to kind of, like, greens and yellows with some reds. And I was really struggling to find a red that would show up on the background, and I still don't think this red is really showing up very well. And then Mark also had on this, what would I know in an ideal world? What would I know if I was the absolute perfect candidate served on a silver platter to a recruiter and a hiring manager? Like, what would be the perfect person? So there were literally, for my role, in an ideal world, there were 28 skills. 28 of them. So there's presentation skills. I'm pretty sure I got those at least a little bit. And training materials. So I'm a bit iffy on those myself. All sorts of hacking. So Wi-Fi hacking, radio hacking, RFID hacking, Android hacking, iOS hacking, intercepting communications and things and manipulating those communications to do what you want. Exploit development, so writing malware, writing things to go against vulnerabilities in code. Social engineering, which is a fancy way of saying manipulating people. Advanced lock sport or lockpicking, and red team physical access, or breaking into places. It's a bit more than breaking into places, really, but it's breaking into places. Sandbox breakout, Windows and Linux. So sandbox, in the case of this context, is sometimes an application runs in a sandbox. So it's kind of contained safely. And breaking out of that sandbox is basically just malicious code just breaking out to then be nasty on the host machine, which is not something that we want. Policy and compliance for various legislature and requirements. So GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, ISO 27001, which is International Security, I forget what the O stands for, and PCI DSS, which, if I remember right, and I'm probably very wrong, is to do with credit card information. I know it's financial. That's about all I know. So, what? Why did they do it like that? It should be. There's also IoT knowledge, so Internet of Things, binary reverse engineering, so x86, ARM, and other architectures. So that's to do with the chipsets on motherboards and CPUs. Secure network design, advanced Windows networking, advanced configuration in Windows and Linux, and perimeter security device configuration. I don't know what Mark meant by that either. I don't think Mark knew what he meant by that. I think he did. Mark probably knew what he meant by that. So again, I did the sit down, do I know this thing? And we got a nice little traffic light on the policy and compliance, I think, with I know GDPR pretty damn well. I kind of know ISO 27001. I don't know PCI DSS. I kind of know how to do most of those hacking things because I've done workshops at various conferences. It's fun. I wouldn't want to try in the real world. I do know how to pick locks. I have lock picks somewhere. I've already can't remember where I put them. I literally moved here yesterday. And then I don't know anything about other architectures with binary reverse engineering. I can reverse engineer on x86 and ARM if I'm using IDA and possibly Ghidra, which are two different disassemblers. IoT knowledge. I do know about the Internet of Things. I don't trust it. And then, yeah, I don't know anything about the rest. But we're seeing mostly, I don't really know that much on the ideal world. So I've got a way to go as a SOC analyst. And that's literally just one role. Mark's skill matrix has 29 roles listed, and that's not even every role in security. And it's really important to remember that it's very unlikely that you're going to need to check all the boxes. And if anyone tells you you need to, they don't know what they're talking about. It's always important to allow yourself room to grow and to learn new things, because anyone will tell you once they've had some life experience that a role that you find easy right out of the gate is very boring very quickly and you will hate it. A role where you're a little bit challenged is always more fun. And I have some other advice as well. A very common idea in tech industry and in InfoSec as well is that this industry is a lifestyle, it's not a career. And that is one of the most toxic ideas I've ever heard. Please never allow yourself to believe this. Please never believe this. Because, and I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent. When I know we say a lot in Army that we find BTS exactly when we need them. When I found BTS, I was struggling with my sense of identity, thinking, who am I without security? Because I believed that. I didn't know who I was without security because I believed that. And because of BTS, I was able to find myself loving things outside of security, and I was able to find myself again. So, yeah. InfoSec can never just be the only... InfoSec and tech can never be the only thing in your life. But it is important to be curious. Be open to learning new things. Be open to just kind of being like, this is interesting, I'm just gonna go learn about it. Like, that's always fun. And remember that everyone starts somewhere. Everyone has different specialties. I can't code at all. I can read code, can't write it. And it's a regular meme in most tech communities that no one knows how to exit Vim. There's how to exit Vim. Press escape. Type :Q to save. Type :Q exclamation mark to not save. And this is a quote that I ended a different talk on. So trust that you are good enough. There's one thing that I've learned. It's that there truly is a place for everyone. But I felt like it was a really good quote to put in here as well. And I also have made a link tree that links to all of the resources I've mentioned in this talk. It also links to my conference talks. It links to conference talks that I found interesting on some security topics. It links to blog posts that may be useful. It also links to my LinkedIn if you want to connect and network for future career opportunities. Just add a note if you do send a connection request saying that you're coming from ARTC, so I don't get confused as to who you are. And there's also links to the Army Comp site, Twitter, and Discord on there. And yeah, let's talk questions and things. Oh, wow, was that only half an hour? Okay. I'll send a link to the link tree in the chat as well. Hello, dog. Oh. There's a chat here. Yeah. What coding languages do I see most often? It really depends. I see Java taught a lot, especially for like teaching object-oriented programming, which I find really frustrating. I find Java really frustrating. I don't like Java at all. I think the Amazon guys just arrived. But I think Python is a far superior method of teaching object-oriented concepts, and no one thinks of that. But yeah, Python and Java. I see Perl a lot at work. It's learning about artificial C++. I don't actually see that often personally. I don't actually see a lot of this any of the C-based languages. C, C Sharp, C++. I don't see many of them at all. I don't think. I don't actually do a huge amount of reversing these days at the moment anyway, because I have a lot of things going on. Oh, there's someone calling me. 1 second. Okay. Let's see some of the questions that came in. Is learning about artificial intelligence or machinery very difficult? Yes. I would say it is pretty difficult. Because it's more than just computing and code and things like that. You also have to consider psychology, and you have to be contemplative of sentience, and there's a lot of ethical questions that come into AI as well, which I always find fascinating. And there's a lot of complicated overlap with AI especially, that I think a lot of people don't think about when they start thinking about considering AI as a career path. Um, so I would say yes, learning about AI is quite difficult, realistically. Do you memorize or familiarize codes? Any tips? I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that question. I'll be honest. Uh, if you mean kind of like, do I don't know what that means. I'm sorry. Um, if you, yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to like think what that might mean. I can't think of anything. I'm really sorry. Um, is is there forms of specific course you know in computer science where it handles innovative technologies or high-tech gadgets? I know that some universities do offer courses like that, but it really does depend on the curriculum of the universities specifically. I don't know of any kind of like general course that you could ask or look for. I think it would really need to be something that you'd need to be keeping an eye out for when looking at what's being offered by colleges you're already looking at. But I do know that some do kind of have courses that are specifically looking at like innovation in technology or things like that. Is it hard to find a job after graduating computer science? Is a competitive field? It is a competitive field. I don't know if it's hard to find a job after graduating because I'm still studying. I'm still studying and I'm working at the same time. So I'm approaching work in university a bit differently to most people. So I don't have that same perspective. But I would say no. Yes and no, depending on the field in computer science that you choose to specialize in. I would say that it's probably more competitive if you look at coding and development, arguably. But I know that as of 2018, in security in the EU, there were 3 jobs for every 1 person who was capable of filling the job. So there's decent job security in security. I'm not saying that you need a job in security, but it's fairly. I would still won't say it's easy to get a job in security because a lot of hiring people don't know what they're looking for. The argument of the skills shortage is a myth, but it's a very long-winded debate in security. Is there a specific course for game design and development, or is it multiple course time thing? Yes, there are a lot of colleges and universities that offer specific courses for game design and development. A friend of mine was actually doing a degree at one of the Scottish universities, Abertay, in game design and development. So yes, there is actual specific courses for that specific thing. Where they kind of overlap with art and design departments in the university for that aspect of game development and game design. And then they'll also have the coding aspects of game design and development as part of the degree as well. But yes, that is a thing. How different would a master's be from an undergrad in computer science? I don't know. I am doing an undergrad. I imagine that the level of information would be more precise. Um, there's I I genuinely am not certain what the difference would be. There's likely to be a jump in the level of difficulty in assessment, and there's likely to be a lot more information available. But I'm not certain. How is data scientist as a job? Many people say it's not worth it. If you like handling lots of information and you like kind of processing through information and figuring out what that information means or what that information could mean, then data scientist sounds like a viable option. But it's not for everyone. And I think that's something that people don't realize is that not every job is for everyone. And sometimes it does take a bit of trial and error to find something that is for you. Is artificial intelligence a course on its own, or like would you have to take multiple courses, like say a minor in psych, or I don't know how to say it. Again, I'm not sure. I don't think many universities are offering courses on AI on their own yet. I would probably look at minoring with psych. I originally, when I started out my degree, was doing it as a minor in psych. But I'm not sure I'm not certain of any universities that are doing a course with artificial intelligence yet. What are some of the different specializations in computer science while studying in college? That really depends on the college and what options they have available, what resources they have available, and what knowledge that their teachers and lecturers and professors have. So, for example, the options that my university have is coding, networking, and communication, which is what I'm doing now, or just broad general computer science. But it really does depend on what is available to the college to be able to offer to students. A lot of these answers are basically, it depends. I'm sorry. Which programming language would you recommend to a person for them to learn who has never done coding in their life, which is easy to learn first? Python. Any advice for learning a new language, what to focus on, and how to adapt and understand the logic behind it easier? I think these are two separate concepts, really, because there's the logic behind the code, and then there's the language to make the logic flow. So the logic is just how to solve the problem of whatever you're doing, and then the language is just making that problem work. So there's a few ways you can go about this. Realistically, it's just practice. There are a few sites I can recommend for trying that as well, where there's like specific challenges to do, and you can do them in almost any language. So you can just try it and try it and try it and try it. And try it in that language and just practice. Sorry for the confusion. The first question is referring to me having trouble retaining any knowledge involving code, so I'm asking advice how to be better at it. Again, yeah, I understand that pain. That's what led to me not being a software engineer anymore. The only advice I have is to try and practice. for some people, it's just not something that works for them, and that's okay. Not not everyone is going to be good at one specific thing, and humanity would be pretty boring if they were. Sorry for not being able to talk, guys. I'm in the hospital as a student. That's completely fine, Andy. Don't worry. What would I suggest? MS in computer science with a specialization in cybersec, or an MS in cybersec? Computer science with a specialization in cybersec. I would really recommend with the base knowledge that you would get with the computer science as well, because there is a lot of kind of base knowledge needed for a lot of things in cybersec that people sometimes overlook with just the focus from the start degrees. Do you know any like places to try for game design / development courses? Like one for if you can't take it in college, like a free course or some dollars a month? I imagine there's probably some on Udemy. Off the top of my head, game design and development hasn't ever been something that's been of interest to me, so it's not something I've looked for personally. But yeah, I imagine there's probably courses on Udemy. I don't know of any others off the top of my head, though. Is there a difference between graduating CS in community college versus graduating CS in a well-known university / college? Because I was told that it would affect me later when applying. Anyone who cares about the where of like the degree part rather than the grade and like how you did is a snob. Point blank. The knowledge you have is the important thing, not where you got it or how you got it. So anyone who focuses on the where and the how is a snob. And if they start trying to throw a fit over that for applying for jobs, then I wouldn't want to work there. Point blank. To put it bluntly, I wouldn't want to work there. I've had people try and say that I'm going to have issues because I'm doing my degree through something called the Open University, which is an online university here in the UK. And I've had people tell me that I'm going to do better applying for jobs because I'm studying through the Open University, because it shows I have motivation to do things myself. Like, I don't care. The fact I have the knowledge is the important thing. I'm bad at logic, reasoning, and coding in general. Like, I struggle with languages like CSA, Java, C++, and DS. So sometimes I get really demotivated. Can you give me some tips on what I should try? Again, I would probably recommend a site called hackerrank.com. And I can send that in the chat on Discord as well. The reason I would suggest something like that is you can do a little problem a day, and you can kind of fill in this graph through the year, and you can see your progress fill in, and it's really satisfying to kind of like see that fill in. Honestly, I ended up giving up with coding. I don't code anymore. I haven't coded since I left my job as a software engineer. So I haven't really got recommendations with that much beyond that. I tried HackerRank while I was still working there, and it did help a bit. And I've gone back to it since when I've tried to like play around with Bash. sense. How did you know that what you're studying now is what you wanted to do? Like, I'm very interested in artificial intelligence game design because I don't know if it's what I want to learn. So that's a fun story. So how I knew I wanted to work in security is because I came out of training in a Michelin-starred restaurant, having panic attacks in the kitchen, knowing that wasn't safe, and I went to a writing community as part of online on Tumblr, and they were all freaking out about a piece of ransomware that was doing the rounds called CryptoLocker. And everyone was like, oh God, I don't want to get it. I don't want to get it. Like, oh, I can't lose my files. And I was sat in my corner of my house going, that's pretty cool. And that's when I knew that's what I wanted to do. I am very much the kind of person who does things on a whim. So I kind of just go with the flow of the universe, and it's working out pretty well for me right now, so we're good. Personally, what was your favorite course back in uni? Well, I'm still in uni, so I really enjoyed, so far, one module I've done was a combined module that did networking, Linux, and robotics together. And I really enjoyed that one. Because I got to wax lyrical about like ethics and robotics and ethics in AI, and I love that. And I got to I didn't enjoy playing around with Cisco, but I enjoyed the robotics part. I do like playing with robots, and I like thinking about the ethics and the moral implications behind robotics. Like, is it moral? Is it right? Is it just to have something that is essentially sentient and effectively kill it, turn it off because it's misbehaving? Like, that's the kind of question I like to think about when I can't sleep. I just start thinking about that. That's the kind of question I want to ask Namjoon one day. Like, you know he'd love it. Like, I want to ask, like, I just want to sit down with Namjoon and just robotics philosophy, give Yoongi a copy of the Hacker's Manifesto. We good. My bias line is sorted. You know Army Comsci Namgi bias. Like, we still have 8 minutes. Shall I quote the Hacker's Manifesto to show why I want to give it to Yoongi? Can you hear my fridge? Because I'm lighting up. Okay. This is our world now, the world of the electron and the switch, the beauty of the board. We exist without nationality, without skin color, without religious bias, and you call us criminals. We make use of a service that would be dirt cheap if not for profiteering gluttons, and you call us criminals. We explore, and you call us criminals. You wage war, and you you murder, cheat, lie to us, and try to make us believe that I am messing this up. 1 second. You murder, cheat, lie to us, and try to make us believe it's for our own good, yet we are the criminals. Yes, I am a criminal. My crime is that of curiosity. My crime is that of judging people by what they say and think, not by what they look like. My crime is that of outsmarting you, something that you will never forgive me for. Now do you see why I want to give it to Yoongi? The other 2/3 of it is just like ranting about the school system in America. So, yeah. But that bit, like, I want to get that. I shouldn't get it tattooed because I work with government, but I want to get it tattooed. But yeah, Hackers Manifesto. It is the thing. Let's see. Any other questions? Got 5 minutes. Any more questions? Going once. Yep. One last question. Can you name some fields that don't require coding? Security. Security don't require coding. Networking doesn't require coding. A lot of them might, like, certain aspects may require some level of scripting sometimes, but you can kind of get away with not doing it. A lot of fields other than software engineer and software development, you can kind of get away with not necessarily knowing how to code or script. But things like networking, things like security, things like, I wouldn't say data analysis because Python literally started life as something being used by data analysis, by data analysts. It's a language born from data analysis, so I wouldn't say data analysts. But definitely, off the top of my head, I can definitely say security and networking would be two that wouldn't require coding a huge amount. Does that answer your question? Male-dominated field, or are you seeing a change? In security or tech generally? In tech generally, definitely seeing a change. In security, as of 2017, security was 11% female globally. In security, the bigger issue is young people, as well as the gender imbalance. Is that a dot? Yeah. Globally, security as of 2017 was 11% female. In the EU, it was 7%. How's payroll of security and networking? Let me put it this way, and I might get in trouble for saying this. I do not have a degree. I do not have any certifications. I am paid £35,000 a year, and I'm underpaid. So, let me put it. I literally the day before I moved on Monday, I had a recruiter trying to pull me for a role for 60K. So Yeah, security pays well. I have recruiters on my LinkedIn pulling me for roles for 60K, 80K. Um, so yeah, security pays well. Networking, I don't know off the top of my head what the salaries are like. Um, can you work remotely in security? Yes. I've been working from home for the past year, Venus. Um, that gives me the motivation. Mickey, in the US, you get paid more. You, there's literally been conversations in InfoSec Twitter recently, um, like saying, "Are UK security people okay?" Because apparently our salaries are low, like our average salaries are low. Is it for security? Yeah. Okay, one thing I will say, do not come into security just for the money. Do not come into security just for the money, you will burn out. Security is an industry that you need to have the passion for it as well. um, because there is so much that goes on, that's why we get paid so much, because there is so much that is constantly going on. Um, there is literally, yeah, that's yearly. That's my yearly salary. Um, there is literally a selfie on my phone that I took that that was just me sipping a coffee that I captioned on Twitter and Facebook is like, "Welcome to incident response. This will be your first coffee of many." I then worked for 20 hours straight. So, yeah, that's the kind of reason why we get paid so much. We get paid so much, but we love it. Yeah. Yeah, you need to have the passion to be able to survive security. You can't survive on the money alone. The money's a bonus. Uh, does a cybersec job require involved cryptography, or is it just the general red team, blue team stuff? It doesn't require knowledge of cryptography. I'm just interested in cryptography. That's why I read cryptographic papers. I was like reading cryptographic white papers because I was interested in genetic malware. And that was based. This specific cryptographic white paper was like the basis of genetic malware. Um, so the the majority of it will be like general red team blue team stuff. There is a lot of aspects of security to go over anyway. Uh, but yeah, it is most of the time red team blue team stuff. A lot of people are kind of like shifting towards purple team. So kind of like a hybrid of attack and defense, because realistically you can't defend effectively without knowing how to attack, and similarly you can't attack effectively without knowing how to defend. So yeah, I'm doing a bachelor's. I'm not doing a master's. I literally started my degree to jump through the HR hoop that I kept seeing in security jobs. I didn't plan on starting in security until I finished my degree. When my software job let me go at the beginning of the pandemic, the first job I saw on LinkedIn was a security job, and I took that as a sign from the universe that it was time, whether I was ready or not. I did teach myself, yeah. I did teach. With security, I taught myself pretty much everything.
Thank you so much, Sil. And sorry, guys, you got me right at the hospital. So
Sorry.
thank you so much, guys, for coming. Thank you so much, Sil, because, well, I have been hearing you this whole time. And as expected, it was an amazing talk. Thank you so much for accepting our invite. And I hope, because, well, I just kept hearing the questions, and I believe that all of you guys now are living with something in mind. You learn one, two, or maybe more things about computer science, how to apply it, how to work at it, and, well, pros, cons, everything there is to it.
Now to earn a lot of money in security too.
Yeah, well, so, well, if you guys have any other questions, please feel free to write it up in the Discord channel, and we'll keep in contact, guys. Thank you so much, and thank you so much.
I will.
For you.
Yeah, I'll add the link to HackerRank to the link tree because that wasn't on there. And I'll send the link to the link tree that I mentioned in the slides after I retrieve my Amazon packages from downstairs because they did arrive during the talk like I thought they would.
Yeah, but that presentation was amazing. Yeah. So, well, sadly, we need to cut this meeting. So, thank you so much, guys. And, well, this was the panel for computer science, directed and starred by our amazing so. So, thank you so much, guys, and keep enjoying ARTC.
Thanks, guys. I'm gonna disappear.